All right, hello and welcome back to another fun-filled episode of the Hammercast. I'm your host, Alex, the Hebrew Hammer Salkin, and originally I was planning on making this chit-chat with my friend Gil a bonus for my upcoming Clean Mean Fightin' Machine challenge. But as we were talking beforehand, I thought, you know what, this is so good. I think, sure, obviously I want to shower my people with bonuses, but nevertheless, I think this is something that everybody needs to hear. And in particularly, we're going to be talking about giving the due honor and respect to the clean and the kind of benefits that the clean will give you in return. And Gil has done more with the hard style kettlebell clean than probably anybody else I know. And I can't think of too many other people who are more qualified than he is to talk about it. And by the way, Gil has a nickname. He never uses it, but it's one I gave him. And so periodically, it gets used. But the Beast from the Middle East, Gil Reves. I'm going to include his Instagram so that you can follow him. And I highly recommend it because you're rarely going to see anybody lifting any weight of any kind with the kind of elan that he is able to muster. So that will be in the comments section. And similarly, if for some reason this is your first episode, maybe you found me through Gil or through some other means, I highly recommend that you get my 9-minute kettlebell and bodyweight challenge. Number one, it is based around, we're talking on this episode, or we will be talking on this episode about giving honor to movements that are not often honored and the kind of stuff that you get as a result of it. And I think probably the number one movement pattern that people don't train seriously enough is the gait pattern. So the 9-minute challenge is based around gait pattern movements that you can learn literally in 30 seconds or less. And they are non-exhausting enough that you can do them daily if you want. And all you're going to need is a kettlebell or two. So even if you're brand new, you already know how to walk, presumably. And this is only ever going to help that. And the nice thing, too, is that it'll teach you how to walk and not just walk, but also to lift and live in a way where your entire body is tied together so that you can move the way that you were made and not the way that you've decayed. So go to 9minutechallenge.com and get your own free copy. That is the number 9minutechallenge.com. And without any further ado, Gil, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. An honor being here again.
The
Um,
honor is all mine, man.
you were saying, I just heard the name of the challenge for the first time. So it's
Clean, mean fighting machine.
Clean Mean Fighting Machine. So it brought me back to the beginning when I started doing kettlebells and when I started as a trainer, I wanted to be a strength and conditioning trainer for MMA guys.
Hmm.
And one of the first things that I was taught and was thinking about with the cleans is the defense positioning, holding your hands high and knowing how to keep them high without exerting too much effort and without exhausting your shoulders. And
Hmm.
the first thing for me when I think about the defense mode with the hands is the kettlebell cleans. So when you said the name of the challenge, it exactly shoot to my origins.
Exactly. Well, and that's in part why I named it. It's a little bit two parts because number one, well, actually, we'll say three because, there was an anonymous special operator of some kind who is quoted in Enter the Kettlebell by Pavel. And he very famously said that kettlebells are the closest you can get to fighting without throwing a punch. And to me, early on, because I was really interested in martial arts when I got into kettlebell training, that was a big selling point because I really liked training martial arts. And I could immediately see like the carryover between the two, where it's like, it's number one, there's obviously the conditioning component, but there's also the full body and power element to it. And similarly, one of the things that comes to mind to me is that you see boxers or mixed martial artists who have a tendency they'll drop their hands not just below their chin, but sometimes all the way down to their to the legs because they just get so tired, and so they've got their hands dangling. And, their opponent might be able to whip out a punch faster. They can pull their hands back up to block it or parry it or do any other movement. And so it's very important to have that ability to not only be able to hold your hands up into that position in, martial arts, but I would even say stuff like you think like everyday activities. Like, Dan John, for instance, is a big fan of the kettlebell clean. He wrote a great article some years ago for the precursor of Strong First, which was the RKC, and he called the article "The Champion of the Clean." And he was talking about one of the reasons he liked the clean so much, or a number of the reasons that he liked the clean so much. And he didn't really mention this in there, but I believe he's mentioned it elsewhere. And my friend Pat Flynn has done the same, where it's like, the kettlebell clean teaches you how to move explosively and embrace, like you're bracing for impact, you know. And
Mhm.
you think about, I mean, in America, I think the number one thing people think about would be like football, because you might get tackled and stuff like that. But you even think about like people who just train for fun. Your kid might run and jump and try to surprise you and like jump into your arms or whatever. And if you're not ready for it and you're just like, a bag of like a collection of parts and you need to be able to brace and catch and it's super important.
That's the perfect teacher for bracing.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's crazy because you mentioned, okay, it's the perfect teacher for bracing. Well, why is bracing important? Because you need to do it for like everything, whether it's with a barbell or with a kettlebell or with calisthenics. If you can't brace and you can't do it very quickly, you're going to run into all sorts of problems. And this is part of the reason why I think that the clean deserves a bit more respect. I know you feel the same way. And you started at least a couple months ago doing lots and lots of double cleans. So first of all, like run us through let's say the origin story behind why you decided most recently to start doing more kettlebell cleans, and then the journey that it took you on when you started to implement them in your programming.
Okay, so this is interesting. I thought that I missed out with the cleans during the years that I'm doing kettlebells. So it's around 13 years that I'm training with kettlebells, and cleans are a part of the training almost always, but never as the main exercise. It's always uh, a form to lift the bells in order to reach to another place, or it's connected to another drill, like the clean and press or clean and squats. And although I practiced it a lot, it was not the same as just digging in and focusing only on a single exercise form as your main dish in the program.
Mm.
So and by that I felt like I missed out uh some of the benefits of the cleans, and that my skill is not sharp enough.
Mhm.
So it was around I think August last year, 2024, and I planned just to start a clean program after the 10th of September, because at, at the beginning of September 24 there was SFG2 here, and I was assisting to master instructor Fabio Zonin in SFG2, and also the first day of SFG1. Yes, Master Fabio Zonin is teaching SFG1 and 2 in parallel, something only
Amazing.
he can do.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. And so I watched him doing teaching the cleans in SFG1, and then in SFG2, he 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 reversed the double snatch through the cleans. So
Mhm.
in order to learn a better double snatch, he taught the cleans, and through the cleans he progressioned into the double snatch. So I decided I am going to try it my thing with the cleans is that, and also double snatch, that I always kept doing the same hinge as I was doing swings. The hips are as high as it can be, as long as I can generate enough stability and force into the ground.
Hmm.
So when he introduced the other angles, um, it was new to me. And with the double snatch, I had another issue. I had an issue that when it became um, quite heavy, with the 32s, um, it always sneaked into my spine. I had my back um, just tweaked a couple of times from doing the double snatch with the 32s. So, and I tried progressing with it to the 36, but there was no chance. It didn't went up. The only way it could go up during those phases before I practiced it was if I dip below the bells when they reach up, which
Hmm.
I did not want to do.
Yeah.
So at the end of the certs, at the beginning of September, I tried the double cleans in the new angles, and I did the 5 reps for a couple of sets with the double 40, which is the highest weight I can maintain good form and can do a couple of reps in good form. And it felt amazing. It felt better than ever. So I took it, and a couple days after, I was practicing the double snatch, and with the new angles, through the angles of the using the angles of the cleans, I felt really good. So I went up to 32, just did 5 reps like it was something that I would do normally, and I haven't done the double snatch for a couple of years with the 32s. So I decided to try the 36, and I did 5 reps, no tweaking in the back. Felt really good. I set them down, and I decided that although I want to focus my next training cycle on the double snatch, building a heavier double clean and focusing on it probably will affect my double snatch.
Hmm.
So I let the double snatch go and went and embarked a journey into the double cleans. It was the 7 months that I did uh, 2 to 3 times a week double cleans, oh, with double 36, and then I went up to double 40. The volume went from 150 a week to something like 400 eventually,
Wow.
and and the goals with the double 40 were reaching 100 reps in sets of fives. So it took around 2 months, and then from that I built to 150 in around another 2 months, and from there I built to 200 reps in one session with the double 40, sorry, 40 kilos, sorry. And there were a couple of interesting things that happened. So you're mentioning the bracing.
Hmm.
When you clean two really heavy bells, if you don't brace in the right time, you are going to get hit really hard, and you're probably not going to continue. So building a high volume with heavy double cleans is going to make you fight with the ball with the bells a lot of time, and it will make you practice with getting hit and bracing.
Hmm.
And it made me understand the rack position and the clean so much better than before that I stopped feeling any kind of impact when the bells were moving toward me. So it really improved my rack positioning to start pressing or squatting, although I wasn't doing any with the bells.
Hmm.
But when eventually I checked it, the press really felt better than ever, and the squats also, because understanding uh, a stronger, better rack positioning with the bell, where it is the base for pressing, jerking, and squatting. So almost everything that you want to do, if you if you go through the rack position, understanding how to hold it better will always make the lift that comes after better.
Yeah.
So it helped a lot with other things. But what happened when I reached the 200 goal, um, 2 weeks after, I decided um, to check my double snatch, and I did 5 reps with 240s, which I never thought it would be in a reach in such a short time
Yeah.
without even practicing it. It only came from the cleans. I did
Hmm.
none double snatches. So, and the other thing, I checked out my double cleans with 248s. I did 5 reps,
Wow.
felt good, wasn't shocked. The movement was clean for the first time in my life, because I did a couple of singles in the last 5 years, and it was never clean. It did not felt good, and getting hit by 248s on the rack position was a shock
Hmm.
always. And when I checked it out, it was that's that's familiar. It's something I can maintain and even start working on daily basis if I want to,
Hmm.
or regular basis, let's say, because that's heavy to do on daily.
On on a daily basis, yeah.
Yeah. So so that came. So the double snatches went up. Uh, it's from 72 kilos to 80. So uh it's a lot. It's more than 10% up without even doing the double snatches.
Yeah.
Um,
Or now
all the
previously
other
your let me ask, previously your best double snatch was a pair of 32s?
before the cert, yeah,
Yeah.
before September, yes.
Had you ever done double 36s?
No, I couldn't.
Oh wow. So okay, so you actually went from not 72, but you went from 64 kilos.
I oh, let's make it clear. When
Yeah.
I finished the cert
Yeah.
on it's around the mid September, I did the 236
Oh, I see. Okay.
only once,
Mm,
and I put them down and decided I am going to focus on the cleans.
nice. Okay.
So and there was no chance I would do double snatches with the 40s at that point in time, because only doing cleans was very challenging.
Yeah. So that's and you did it not just for one rep with the 40s, you did it for five, right?
Ah, yeah.
So that's a huge, huge leap. I mean, like, yeah, in terms of like the amount of weight that went over your head, it was a couple kilos more. But in terms of the set, you did like orders of magnitude more. And one of the things
That's
that I
true.
think is especially impressive is that Now, again, a lot of people think of the clean again as just like a delivery device to get the kettlebell to the rack. But if it's important that it goes from the rack to wherever else you want it to be, whether it's over your head or whether it's in the front squat, it makes sense that however you get it there should be practiced and treated with respect as well. And I mean, anybody, if you're, let's say, if you're a kettlebell enthusiast, but you're not an instructor, you may not be familiar with the saying, but it's a very common saying in the strong first world that your press is only as good as your clean. And I've seen a lot of beast tamer attempts, just from the various times around the world that I've assisted. And I've gone online, I've seen people getting ready to press something heavy. And I always know if the bell is going to go up or not before it even hits the rack. Because if the clean is not like bam, like right on point, it's like you might as well just save your energy because, not to sound defeatist, but it really is. There's only one person I can think of who had just a god awful clean and put a heavy weight over her head, but she was like freakishly strong. And I'm going to give her a shout out, actually, not because I want to trash her clean technique. This was at a strong first event, the first one ever in Croatia where I assisted. Her name was Uliana, and Russian, a Ukrainian Russian, something like that, who had moved as a child to Germany. So she grew up in Germany, and she was just freakishly strong. So there's a video I'm sure still out there somewhere where she cleans a kettlebell. It's a little bit sloppy, and then she waits in the rack for it what seemed like an eternity. It must have been 3 5 seconds, and then boom, 24 kilo kettlebell just went right overhead. And I'm sure she has pressed more since then, but she was a really impressive specimen. She's I
Amazing.
would say, the exception that proves the rule. But I would also say that it was clear that the 24 was not her max. So it might have been a different story if it had been her max. So I think the axiom still stands. So to summarize what we've gotten to so far is you decided number one that you're going to start doing loads and loads of cleans, and the result was you ended up not only with being able to manhandle a pair of beasts, which is, I mean, by itself, it's like hard for many people just to pick them up off the ground and carry them. But you brought them up into the rack, and similarly, you were able to do the double snatch with no practice. And the other thing that I want people to consider here too is that you had low back issues from unrelated injuries. If I remember, you were in judo for many years, and you had some
Yep,
issues with
yep,
that.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
But also cheaty technique during the years made me tweak my back couple of times, and
Sure.
th this was really good to my back because I just gained tons of volume
Yeah.
for my posterior chain, and n no back issues at all. And this is interesting. If you do not do lots of cleans, heavy ones, this is something it's hard to explain and mimic. So if you are taking this challenge, I encourage you to, and I think you will have great benefits from it. Not something I can put my finger exactly and say what you are going to gain, but you will gain a lot from it.
Yeah, I think if anytime you fill a gap, you automatically find that there were other gaps you didn't even know that you had that end up getting filled along the way. And because so many people just never really train the clean as something that they're really serious about, yeah, they end up being pretty excited when when the results roll in and they're like, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? I'll give you one example actually, and I'd be curious. You've already got a very strong grip, and anybody who's ever seen Gil's forearms would know he's got like Popeye like forearms, like. And I don't know if here in Israel if people are familiar with Popeye or not, but he's like a cartoon
Yeah.
character. Okay, with big forearms. That's what he's renowned for. But I was rereading through Kettlebell Muscle by Jeff Newport, and he made a very interesting point early on in the book that his grip strength went up, and not just like, oh, it felt stronger, but rather he was able to close a number two Captains of Crush gripper uh, after a period of doing a lot of double kettlebell cleans. And previous to that, he was close to closing it, but he didn't quite, get it all the way closed. So what that means is that you have to be able to touch both handles together if people are not familiar with it. Um, and I also think, yeah, so he's got a pair right there. It's the number one, which
This is number one, but
he
I
can
have
close with his jaws, actually. I'm pretty sure of it. He could just bite it closed if he really wanted to. But the other thing, so there's the grip, but then there's also the back. And then from there, the other thing that people don't think about, and this is just my opinion, but my opinions tend to be just facts. They're not really opinions so much, just the way the world works. No, but the kettlebell clean, I think, is the number one move for taming the arc because you have to have the best possible timing. I think now, obviously, with the snatch, the timing, the importance of the timing is different because the kettlebell is going over your head. But with the high pull, you can pull it to different levels. Swing, it can go to different levels. But the clean, similar to the snatch, has to stop in a certain position. But unlike the snatch, it has to get there very quickly, and so your timing for it has to be especially good. And if the timing is
so
important for the snatch because it's going to go over your head and it might fall, fore or aft or whatever, then it should be doubly important to get it at not just a more fundamental or foundational position, but also to be able to really master that second portion of the ballistic lift, which is the arc, which very few people, I mean, a lot of lip service is given to it, but very little is actually done to get people to tame the arc properly. And apropos of nothing, I do have a book called Tamers of the Lost Ark, which
mm,
gives my mad methods for taming the arc, but we'll leave that to the side for now. But suffice it to say, it would not surprise me if a part of the gap that was being filled, even though you've been doing this for many, many years, 13 years now, you said, is that you were able to better tame the arc because you were working on like the really speedy arc transition from
it,
this hinge to the rack.
well, let me say a couple of things about it.
Yeah.
Um, the thing with snatches is taming the arc both ways, on the way up and on the way down.
Hmm.
And it's the for getting the bell good above your head in the snatch, you need first to understand how to uh, find the right path.
Hmm.
And doing so starts from the bottom. And the the bonus here is that the clean and the snatch are at the same angles.
Hmm.
You only catch the bell and in lower velocities. So it's easier to understand how you want to direct the bell and how you want to um, arrange your palm around the handle, which is extremely important when you do lots of reps or you do heavy snatches. Um, I can say I I um, I stopped doing heavy snatches or snatches at all 10 months ago, and I was doing it with the 48 kilos. And yesterday I was doing I was performing a get up in a workshop, and it was with the 48. And when I reached to the top, I snatched it before I went down to get down, and it felt amazing at the bottom just because of the cleans, because I was so practiced. I was so what's the word? Um, my skill of catching the bell on the bottom was so sharp that when I did it with the heavy bell for the snatch, it went exactly to the place that I wanted it to be as I was doing a clean, and it went back up smooth with no problems.
Hmm.
Caught it, and this is only because of the clean. So it's it's a way to perfect the catch and the way up, and it is with lower velocity when doing the cleans.
Hmm.
So and when you have lower velocities, it's easier to find the exact nuances that you're looking to make it easier and stronger and the way you want it to be directed instead of just it moves up, you catch it somehow
Yeah. Yeah.
or down.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the things, for instance, I'm working on anytime I'm working on a new movement, one of the things I look for is am I starting and finishing at more or less the exact same point? And if you notice that there's some variation between the reps, that's normal, like in the beginning. But that's one of the things that you really need to grab hold of and control if you want to continue to move forward. Because if you don't do it, what ends up happening is like you were, like you're pointing out here, is you just don't have the same control. And now, even though you have not been practicing snatches, you were very easily able to do one. Not only because you've done them in the past, but also because you really sharpened one of the tougher points of it. And so you're able, like the top position and the bottom position are absolutes. And so when you understand exactly where both of those are supposed to be, the path is much clearer. So it's like you go on Google Maps or Apple Maps. I don't know what kind of maps people. Yeah, Waze actually is very popular in Israel. So whatever the case may be, you go on there. You've got where you're starting from and where you're trying to get to, and how fast you want to get there. And so there's really only one ideal path to get from point A to point B. And the more you can straighten it with strength training and whatever the exercise may be, the stronger you can get because you have more control of more variables.
That's a very precise way to explain it. I
Thank
like
you.
it.
Good. You're welcome to use it. And the rule, again, I'll mention Dan John. Dan John's rule is if he hears something from you the first time he credits you, the second time he credits you, the third time it's his. So it's the same for you. Yeah, you get to use them quick so that way this automatically becomes yours. All right. Well, any other insights or pointers or ideas that you want to share with us before I send you on your merry way?
The cleans. Well, the endurance part, I missed
Mhm.
it. I haven't said a word about it. So it helped me to improve my endurance tremendously. And it was a little bit easier than doing it with the swings and the
Mhm.
snatches because snatches are more intense on the body,
Yeah.
and swings you have no stopping point. You
Yeah.
only work with swings, and doing cleans you have a moment to readjust yourself, and this is it has a double effect on you. The fact that you can monetize your breathing and your heart rate this way, and also readjust your positioning and your technique,
Hmm.
which is something very hard to do with the swings and also with the snatches because gaining a high volume with snatches for a long time is quite difficult, and with the cleans it's not so much
Yeah.
even at all.
Yeah. I think a good way people can think about this is that if you want to get a lot better at snatches, the better thing to do is to build as wide a base as possible because snatches are a lot of fun, but you need to build a pretty wide base to begin with. And so if you start off by doing, you get your swings, you get your swing strength in, and of course you build up your strength in your legs in general with squats and lunges and things like that. And then you start working your way up, and you can continue to practice your snatches so that you've got the technique down and that you're able to perform at a high enough level. But then you back that up. This would just be one option. You back that up with making your mainstay lots of double kettlebell cleans or single kettlebell cleans. It doesn't have to be double, by the way. And from there, what you'll likely end up finding is that you get a lot of the same benefits of the snatch, but you don't get the fatigue. So that means you've still got energy for stuff like presses and pull-ups and squats and all manner of other things. But anybody who's done a preponderance amount of snatches, for instance, anybody who's done Viking Warrior conditioning will know that's basically all you're doing. You have some days where you're doing like some low rep strength stuff just so you're not losing any of your strength. But otherwise, the higher the volume goes with snatches, the lower the volume with everything else goes.
It 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 takes the whole cake.
Yeah.
You have nothing left when doing it.
Not at all. Not at all. And it's easy to overdo it. You didn't even realize it, but it's very easy to overdo it. So keep this amply in mind. Snatches are always going to be the czar of kettlebell lifts, but cleans are its enforcer. So give some respect to the clean, and also let's give some respect to Gil, the beast from the Middle East, to Reves. Where can people find you online so that they can watch you make a mockery of gravity and toss kettlebells and barbells around like it wasn't nothing?
Well, mainly it's my Instagram account, which is Gil Reves. It's Gilreves, and soon there will be a podcast in mainly in Hebrew, but probably there will be episodes in English. So
Nice. So people, this is your hint. It's time to learn Hebrew so that you can listen to Gil's podcast. Well, thank you very much. I think this is
rewire.
Rewire. I can't wait. And we'll have you back on. We, meaning I, the royal we, I will have you back on to promote that podcast for
Thank you.
the Hebrew speaking audience. I don't know how many of you are out there, but by all means, please feel free to leave a comment on Spotify or drop me an email or just whatever, so that I know that there are some other Israelis out there listening. But Gil has a lot of very insightful ideas on training. He's been in the game a lot longer than most, and he's a lot stronger than pretty much everybody. So he's worth following. When I say pretty much everybody, I mean absolutely everybody, particularly when it comes to cleans. I think we've at least established that. Very
It's
smart trainer.
overrated.
Yeah, very smart trainer. And by the way, here's the other thing too. Gil knows he's probably, apart from me in Israel, knows more about original strength than anybody else because he's been at it since the earliest times. See, I taught him as much as I could, and he's continued to want to learn more and more, and he's made it a point to learn as much as possible. So he has seniority not just in his kettlebell journey, but also knows a ton about original strength. And folks, original strength will be coming to Israel one day in the near future. So be on the
One of the greatest gifts I ever got, and that's you giving it to me.
the original strength. That's right, baby.
Yep.
I You can now repay me in some other way. I don't know how. If you have like I don't know, like a car that you want to get me, or like a house that. No, I'm kidding. No, it was a pleasure. I remember it was a fun day. We'll have to recount the earliest days of original strength in Israel on a future podcast because yeah, that was those were fun times. Those were like the really early days of OS too, where everything was new and everything was fun, and still fun. But now thankfully it's also spanned the globe. But this time it was very very much something that not a lot of people knew about. So it's been cool to watch the transformation happen.
You know, you feel a part of the origin.
I do. It's a pretty cool experience. That's for sure. So anyhow, Gil, thank you very much for coming back on the
Thank
program.
you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. And folks, as always, have fun and happy training.